because if you start working in Lightroom, in the develop mode, you can use the tools over here, and those are selective edits, right? So those can work on specific areas of the image. But if you're just in excuse me, in basic mode, then these apply to the entire image. Whereas if we take this image into Photoshop, I can make a layer, and then any of the edits that I make to that new layer, I can apply either to the whole image, or I can cut out pieces and apply it just to those selected areas. Right? So in general, the answer to your question, do the filters apply to the whole image? Yes, usually. So if I take this image right here and take it into Photoshop, and let's just go ahead and do that because I want to get there anyhow.
Now, the question there, that screen is not coming up with my computer.
This one here?
When I say edit in Photoshop, it does not give me those options. Anybody know where to turn that on?
Lightroom? Or are you're in Lightroom?
Yeah, this is Lightroom.
That's Lightroom.
That's right. Lightroom, so it's something in Lightroom that's not set up.
You know what version of Lightroom you're using?
The most recent. I've got them.
You should get that.
Yeah, you know, we can look, but there's preferences.
In Lightroom, I looked, but I didn't see it.
So external editing, that's where we are.
Okay.
Say the default is Adobe Photoshop, and the external that I have selected is the On1 Photo. But it nowhere it says, do you want to ask or not?
I know.
Restart the computer.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did all those silliness things.
Import. Yeah, file handling. I don't know, because it would seem like you would always.
It takes my raw files straight into Photoshop, and then until I mess with it, it doesn't turn over to TIFF.
Raw.
Are you starting with the raw file that you're sending over? Okay. Do you work on it in Lightroom before you export it?
See if I can.
would ask you anyway, I think. I think you always ask.
You know.
If you're exporting.
Well, if the image has no annotations in the database, it might not ask if you want to take your adjustments with you.
But it might, yeah. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I mean, these have
I'm looking for a raw file here.
Well, probably just any file you haven't worked on.
Pardon?
You have any files that you haven't done anything to at all in Lightroom.
Well, generally, I would assume that would ask me if I wanted a copy or not, but maybe not with Lightroom adjustments. Right.
Try and export one that hasn't been touched.
I'm looking for a raw file here. I don't know that I have any in this database. Yeah. There's a raw. Okay. All right. So let's see if we do edit in Photoshop. There you go. So it's just going to go right in. So it's the raw, okay?
It's raw and raw adjusted. I mean, because I don't work. I work straight from raw. And
okay. All right.
But that one you just exported that didn't come up. You hadn't done anything to it in Lightroom. Other than
I had no editing done. Now, okay.
I'll test it out again.
So here's what's going to happen now. This goes out into Photoshop. In my external editing preferences, I said return it as a. In this case, I've got them set for TIFF. So what Lightroom is trying to avoid, or at least let you control, is do you want to replace this file when it comes back in? So the raw file is not going to be replaced by virtue of the fact that that Lightroom already knows that I'm taking it into Photoshop. Photoshop cannot return a raw file. I mean, it just can't. I mean, unless you don't do anything to it, okay?
When I come back, I've got the raw file there, unadjusted, and the TIFF.
And a whatever, right, so the TIFF. So this one right here is still a raw file, right, an RAF. But as soon as I do something to it, it's going to say, It probably won't even ask me if I want to save it under a new name. I mean, probably will. But anyhow, it's going to be a whatever, in this case a TIFF. So, good point. Good point.
So is it pulling the original or a copy?
The original, right. And Lightroom, you know, allows you to make virtual copies, right? But there is no function in Lightroom to make a copy of a actual file, other than the dialog that we get, you know, for other kinds of files. Right. Okay, so we wanted to talk about some of these plugins. Last week we looked at, gosh, I don't remember what we looked at. On One, okay, and Topaz. We didn't really look at much of the Topaz. Topaz is an interesting set of applications. Topaz, the one that we did look at was the Topaz Textures. And Textures is really a shortcut for doing all the things that I've been kind of walking through here, right? Multiple layers, grunge effects, borders, all those kind of things. And it does it automatically for you. It does it, and you have really good control over it, because you can start with either one of their presets, which is a set of multiple adjustments that's already been done by somebody else, and apply that to your picture, or you can start from scratch and apply exactly the effects that you want. I go back to my heavy-handed versus, you know, detailed. It's kind of cheating if you just do an Instagram thing, right? You just take a picture on Instagram and apply a filter and you're done, right? And you got art. Well, okay, maybe not. Sometimes you get lucky. And the same thing with the Topaz Adjust. If you just plop in somebody else's filters, you're really not being original. Okay, the picture that you took was original, and that was yours, and you may get some interesting effect. If that's, you know, if that's what floats your boat, then that's terrific. But, you know, I like to mess things up on my own. Right. So maybe I'll start with a preset. It's not, you know, there's no bad thing about that. But then, you know, add to it, take away from it, revise some of the adjustments that have been made. So my problem with the Topaz application is that if you're done with it, and the only options we saw down at the bottom were OK and quit. There is no save as, right? So even if I just need to be done for the night and I still want to work on it, there is really no way. I can save it, and that's what I've got. If I want to bring that in again the next day, I can bring in the result, which is going to be a JPEG. But I've got a flat file. I can't go back and adjust any of those adjustments that have previously been made. Okay, I could start over, take my other one and bring up the adjustments, but you know, that's kind of a pain. So that's my problem with that. And they have, I think I told me directly they're not going to change that. They want all their stuff to be proprietary. You know, that works for companies like Apple. But Adobe, on the other hand, has been doing pretty well, letting everything kind of free and, you know, not free, but available and open source, that kind of thing.
I've got a question, and I haven't tried it, and I don't know what the answer to this is. So I'm saying,
all right.
They have a freestanding module now, Topaz has, where you can actually just work on your photo in the freestanding module.
Right.
Would there not be a save as or something so you could go back?
It's the same one. It's like those, you access it through either filters or, right, no, it's the same thing. You can, and Topaz is trying to become a Lightroom. Okay, they've got a browser and they've got all that kind of stuff, so you can bring in files. And, so, it's not a bad thing, but, you know the limitations and what it is that you're working with. I think it's, I like some of the other things that they do a lot better. They've got some very interesting filters. Let's see if I don't think I'm logged in here. Yeah. and I can't remember what they are off top of my mind, but I know they've got adjust. They've got one that does a kind of a color replacement. Color densities are a kind of interesting thing. You know, if you bring up a picture and you go to, let's see, let's just do this one here. Well, there's one called posterize. Everyone knows what postering is, right? So in posterizing, you're taking the color gamut and you're reducing the number of displayed colors to some smaller number. So like this picture here is probably a 16-bit image. So there are possibly 16, what is that? 640,000 colors, right? So in posterizing, you're going to reduce that to like 5, and that's why you get those shifts, right? The colors change like this. So Topaz Recolor, I think it's called, takes those 5 colors and allows you to reassign different colors to each one of them. So it really gets some interesting results. So this one here, for instance, it would see blue. This is already only 4 colors, but it would see, you know, blue and brown and black. And white and a little bit of gray there. And it would allow you to replace those with orange, pink, green, whatever you want. And, oh, that's good. All aboard. So that's one. And they've got some other ones that are kind of more striking that really add some unusual effects, streaks and painting effects and things like that, right? Yeah, portrait.
Yeah, lenses. I'm trying to think what the title is.
Lens effects. No, not, is it lens effects or?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
something like that.
But that's great.
Yeah. So anyhow, what those are is additional programs, and when we use them in Photoshop, what I would do is go into here and Control J to create a new layer right there, and then I would go up to the filter, go down to Topaz, and all I have here is Topaz Texture Effects, all right, which is the one we've been talking about that does all the steps for you. Let's just go into On One, and let's just go to On One Enhance. That's really more of a colorizer, you know, gives you better colors or different colors. Okay, not there. It is there. So there's my picture. Favorites, I don't have any favorites. Enhancements. So this is really a bad image to try to use. Yeah, let's just get out of that because let's take this one here. All right, so here's this one is a JPEG, so it's going to ask me about which version I want to use. So I've already got 2 copies here, so I'll use the original. All right, we'll get rid of the bird. That tree is behind my house, and it's a dead tree, and there are occasionally 20 of those things sitting up there. And it's you drive in and you think, okay, what's going on? Vultures, yeah. Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, they almost always accumulate. You rarely see just one.
Yeah. And you can see them come in, you know, because they're circling, and then they kind of.
They're waiting for something.
Exactly. That's my.
If they're still, they're waiting for something to die.
Yeah.
Do you feel old when you see 20?
I kind of wonder, you know, what's happening? Who died? Maybe my neighbor or whatever.
If they were already dead, they'd be picking at them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. If
Right.
they're still, they're waiting for the person.
Yeah.
They don't kill it, they just wait for it to die.
They may know something I don't. Okay, so we'll just do a quick look at this. So this is On1 Enhance. So here's a picture, you know, around there. Here's collections, and all of the On1s have this little button up here, this grid view, and the grid view allows you to preview all of the different adjustments. Auto levels and colors, that looks pretty good. And then you've got this, again, like Lightroom, you've got the right-hand side that allows you to take control over the...
They need a fix the sky choice.
The what, this here?
Yeah, I want to fix the sky.
Right, right, yeah, fix the sky, replace the sky. They also need one that says take out power lines, right there, see that? Yeah.
They do? No.
No, they need one. You can do it, obviously, with Photoshop.
I get it.
Yeah, a plug-in, take out lines, take out power lines, yeah, that'd be good. Yeah.
Right there next to the focus it.
Right, post-focus. Right, so that's one of these. And again, this is either an application, because you could access this directly from Lightroom, or from Photoshop, or from the On1 10 suite. So, is it a plug-in? Is it an application? I don't know. This one here, you get to make a change and then apply it, and then it comes back into Photoshop. Now, this is not a bad thing because you've taken one function and you've applied a change to it. But what I've got back now is the changed image. I can take that back into On1, but I can't, but the changes that I made are now done, right? They're flattened. I'm not going to go back in and be able to readjust it, say, oh, I really wanted that orange to be, you know, more effective. So I need... Absolutely, I can do it here.
You just can't go back and readjust the...
Correct.
Make a change to the existing, make a new adjustment.
Right. Yep. So, you know, that's their decision, you know, and for most of the time, that works. I should have, but did not make a second layer from this. So, actually, a good mistake. Here's what I do, because I frequently forget to make the second layer. So as long as I catch it pretty early, I can just go back into here and take this image and edit in Photoshop, okay, and edit the original. And now I have the one that I just modified, and I should have, if it comes up here, another layer. No, because I said edit the original, edit a copy. Okay. So now I've got two. I've got this one here, and I've got this one, which is actually the same. So I can take this, drag it up to there, drop it in here, and now I've got two of them. Right? Two layers. So that I have my adjusted layer and my unadjusted layer. So as long as you catch it early enough, it's not terrible. Anything else? Any other?
You were talking about Topaz as a plugin.
Right.
But when you went to the menu that came out as a filter, you say it was under filters?
Yes. Yep, it's here. On1 and Topaz.
Is there something in preference of, well, I've opened files in On1 that weren't directly coming from Lightroom, they were somewhere, and this was on a Dell, and then when I'm done and I save it, of course it doesn't go back to Lightroom because I didn't start it there, then I'm trying to figure out where the heck it is. I guess,
good point.
Probably set up a good folder for it or something like that.
Yeah, that happens frequently, and what happens is usually, like the second one that I opened came in as Untitled. The second, If I modify that and I save it, or I do a save as out of Photoshop, and I don't change the location, chances are, pretty good, that it's going to go back in the same folder that it came from. So, here's what to do. So I know that I have another copy of this image here. So what I'll do is I'll go to this, right-click, and go to the folder in the library. So that's going to go over here on the left-hand side, and it's going to show me the folder that image is in, right? That the original one is in. The new one is not going to show up here because, not because. All right, so what I do is right-click on it and synchronize the folder. So that tells Lightroom to go out and look for any other images that are in that folder that I don't see. And this will come up here, right? And what will happen is this import new photos will show one or more. And then you just make sure that that's checked and click synchronize. And bingo, your picture will show up in Lightroom. Okay? Yeah, that happens quite a bit. Yeah, by the time you start moving things around and resaving and renaming, and it gets confused. Because remember, Lightroom isn't really looking at the folder. Lightroom is looking at the database of images that you have imported.
So it'll actually find it on the computer somewhere.
No, if you do it right here, it's just going to look, we're only telling it to look here. You can, it's possible, but probably take a while, go to a superior folder and do the same thing, synchronize folder, and it will look at everything below. So you could do that for your whole image library. Be careful, because if you have, but it's a good way to catch any strays. Things that were out there that you forgot about, or just were too tired to look for, or whatever. Yeah.
I'm going to have a lot, because mine, I use the iPad a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so it comes in, when I send it to Photoshop, it's coming in as a temporary folder. That's the
okay.
file it lists called. So would it examine that as well?
If you point to it, sure.
Okay.
Right. Yep, but then it's going to be in the temporary folder. That's not the same as importing. Right? That's just...
It's just there.
It's just there.
Yeah, because I try to save as and put it where it belongs,
right.
But sometimes
Yeah.
Scott, did you add some things to the second picture on the right?
This one here?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you see that? Is that the same?
That's the same picture, but I grunged it up.
Yeah.
This is the original.
Uh-huh.
This one is enhanced, and this was enhanced in where'd it go? That's with a grunge overlay.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see it.
Yep. Yeah, it's right off my deck. So let's go back and look at this one right here, I guess. Yeah, we can look at this. I know you talked about brushes a while ago. Brushes are really interesting things. We're used to brushes. I'm going to make a new layer here. Oh, I didn't want a copy layer. I want just a new layer. Okay, so I'm going to hit this new layer button down at the bottom there, and I've got a blank layer, fully transparent. And we're used to brushes, this thing over here, because part of it we've been doing adjustment layers, right? So we'll put a mask on this, or we'll go here and put a mask on this. And if I want to make an adjustment, then I can set this to black, and I can brush out the effect of that layer to allow the layer beneath it to be exposed. So brushes are pretty powerful, a lot more than what we have here. there's a thing over here. This column over here are quick access locations for this set of things, these windows. So when we look at this list, any one of these can be in that column. What we want to look at here is brushes. So I'm going to hit this brushes, and that'll put a check mark on it. And it also put this little thing right here, little brush can with the brushes sticking up. Okay. And over here are the brushes that are currently installed. Those are the same as the brushes that are here. Okay? So when you go to a brush, the typical one you get is this round one with the kind of fuzzy edges. Or you can get, sharp ones, or there's some other ones here. But there is a wealth of brushes for all kinds of different things. And you may have noticed as working through this course that I like clouds a lot. There are cloud brushes, which are pretty interesting. And I've got a couple here. So I'm going to load a set of cloud brushes so that I can hopefully put them back up in here. So click this little menu item here. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? Okay, it's on this one, on Brush Presets. I'm going to load brushes. And I've got a browse function, so I'm going to go over to my, I think I got it in here. Yep, nope. Yeah, here's clouds. So here's one of the brush presets. It's an ABR file. So I'm going to click that, load it, and then I've got down here, I've got some clouds. And if you look over on this side here, there's an image of the cloud shape that's going to be formed. This thing over on the side is what it looks like if you drag it. All right? So you can see they're pretty boring if you drag them. I'm going to see if I can find my other one, because there were two sets here that I had.
Are those custom ones you made or acquired? Or?
I downloaded them. I just searched for Photoshop brushes.
A lot of brushes
clouds.
are used as stamps.
Yes.
They're not really intended to be dragged, but just to draw them in.
Right. So let's look at this one here, Clouds by Mila. Is that the one I had? No, I did, yeah. I think it's this one here, Cabriolet.
If you have, for example, if you have a brush that has the shape of a maple leaf,
Yeah.
you can just click once and you get one maple leaf. Click 2, 3, 4, 5, you have 10 maple leaves.
Okay.
If you drag it,
Yeah.
it'll basically just populate.
Right,
Oh, I
right.
see. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It could be stars or leaves, whatever. There's also a lot of borders, full borders that come as brushes. So you just stamp the once and you get your border.
Right.
Oh.
Did you get that worked out with the corners?
I'm having trouble figuring out, I need to download them and where exactly to put them.
Right.
So then,
Well, this is where to put them.
so then they'll load into the menu.
Right, they'll load in this list right
You can't
here.
afford to have all your brushes on that live menu.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, because you have thousands. You can group them.
Exactly.
You can make little groups. Okay. So let's just look at this one here. Now, like this one, the first one, number 42, is a dot that makes a streak. So if I go over to here and I increase the size of my... Now, you see that it really is not a streak, right? It's a little... It's a splash. Okay, let's get rid of these. And go to this one. And it's not... Okay, I've got... Now, if I drag it, it is just a streak, right? Some of them allow you to drag and they change shape. All right, let's just take this cloud right here. And the trick with these is to change the size. Now, if we turn on the underlying layer here, they look, I mean, they're clouds.
Yeah.
Arguably, they are clouds.
You can get watercolor splashes, you can get smoke, you can get just any number.
Right.
I mean, it's bright.
Yep. So, and I can't find the one that okay, so there's a couple of clouds. There was one, and apparently I didn't bring it with me, that actually changes shape automatically. So you stamp it, it changes. You stamp it, it changes. And if you drag it, it changes along as you, yeah. Yeah, let's look at that. The color, we'll go up here to layer, and let's just get rid of this layer here. And we'll add a new one. No. Yeah. Just go. All right. New layer. We'll come up to here, and we'll double click on this, and this dialog we've seen before, right? This is the layer styles dialog. So if we want the clouds to be a little colored, maybe a little blue in them, we can go over to gradient overlay and pick a blend mode. Let's just pick multiply. Opacity gradient is going to be, let's make it blue to kind of gold. And gradient is, yep, that's okay. And then we're going to make it into a radial. Okay, so it's going out from there. And change the scale. Now, if I did that right, I should be getting, not really getting, oh. No?
Change the square, color square.
This over here. When I did this before, it was right here. Gradient overlay. Oh, there it is. Color burn. Yeah, it's in the blend mode.
Color's still flat.
It's not working properly. Okay. My real point for doing this was just to demonstrate the different cloud. And by changing the size of these things and by picking different ones, you can actually make some fairly realistic cloud. So, fell off the screen. Okay.
I use the brush
Yeah.
works that mostly is I'll create a new layer, drop let's say a watercolor filter on, then drop a white layer on top of it, and then drop a mask on that, and then paint through with one of the brushes.
Okay, and so it comes out.
It'll expose it from the bottom up.
Okay,
As a fine brush technique.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. We've gone past break time, so no break. No, let's take a break. Take a break for a couple minutes. Yeah, I never turned the lights off before.
So, did you put the tears on her right eye there?
This is Paul's.
Oh, okay.
So wanted to take a look at what his what his method here is. So, is this around here, or is it the graveyard somewhere?
This was at Christ Church.
Okay, all right, downtown? All right,
You're in another photo class we went there the other day.
okay.
What's the vintage of this property or stuff here? I mean,
I'm sorry?
how old is this property?
The church?
Oh, gosh.
One of the first churches in Maple.
Okay, so
Yeah.
200 years, something like that. Wow. She was there.
And she used to be there, and she looked at Medusa, and there she is.
That's actually on a gate.
So what he did was take this and cut it out, okay? And that's pretty decent extraction there. So we got a transparent background. We've got a bunch of little edges around it, which is fine because actually that kind of enhances the image. And then he added a brightness layer to that, which I don't see really doing much. Then let's see, started with this is
A gray marker cross that's on the ground, and that had the material.
okay, all right. And then a desaturated version of that. Yep, right there. Yep, I just, so what we got here was some of these squigglies, right?
Yeah, that was an overlay.
Right, okay, so the layer 3 is just a texture overlay, right? Okay. And then another copy of the angel,
Yeah, I got caught in a lot of things just to protect myself.
right? And then a desaturated version of the layer 5 of this colored version here. Now this one here, you have that, let's see, you've got a darken blend mode with 100% opacity, and then added some color into it. So that becomes pretty effective, actually. Did you have? It looks like all the layers that you need, right? That was the effect. So that's interesting. I mean, that's nice. And you said you wanted to add some kind of a gradient from the bottom.
Part of it, I'm losing some of the sense of that cross that's on the ground.
Oh, this here, right? So this area in here. Yeah, so we can see it on this. So maybe if we take the opacity of this down here, and I changed the wrong thing. So take that back to 95. Go back down to this one, and I would change the opacity of this or the blend mode, or the blend mode, so we can see what that looks like here. You were looking for more of the color, is that?
Yes.
So this is a 1 gigabyte file. Running low on disk space. This laptop is a 250 meg C drive, which is something I would never recommend anybody get. But that's what it was, and I cannot change it.
So if you wanted to move that bright spot behind the face, just for the sake of argument,
This over here.
yeah, you would take that layer and transform it
Right. Let's do that. So
and shift it.
move it to wherever you like, right? So the question is, do you want it there, or do you want it, over the face? Yeah, I'd probably like it there.
So she has a mask on now.
Yep.
her right eye and do something.
Over here. But I think that's the original, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the way she is. Yep.
Show me the original photograph.
There's the original. Yeah.
You probably do fixing the
Well, which
eye.
selection method did you use? Just quick select or?
You could modify this, right?
I that this should be probably.
Right.
Some areas where there's other connections to the, added
Hmm?
access.
You what?
I don't think ahead of myself.
Yeah, no,
Down
right.
there, well, what can I fix that? And you can go back and fix it.
How do you select the agent?
Quick
Quick select?
quick select,
Okay.
and then kind of finesse the edge a little bit.
Right. One of the, my scratch discs are jammed, and I'm not sure how to unjam my scratch discs. It's got to be in here somewhere. You'd think it'd be in here somewhere, right? Purge. No?
Brings up a question as far as file sizes on this. You said it's a 1 gig file.
Right.
If you look at some of these, like you get some of these add-ins for effects, you know, and they got 70 layers to it. You load, are they just scripts or are they actually file sizes?
In Photoshop, every layer is actual bits. Okay? So every one of these layers over here is, you know, is a separate, if you save it out, it becomes a file. So that's why we have down here 1.08 gigabytes. All right?
You flatten that, you get your file that you do it, and all those go away.
Yes, if you flatten it, right. Then it becomes a whatever.
Not this one.
Pardon?
Your final photograph. Not this one.
Yeah, right. If there's several ways to. Okay, so what's the point here? Do we want to save disk space? Is that what we're trying to accomplish? Are we trying to allow the computer to run faster by having to operate on less image? So there are a couple different things here. Personally, I don't really worry about disk space because, I mean, this little portable here I think is 1 gig and it cost me $80 or something, or 1 terabyte rather. So, you know, disk space is pretty inexpensive. This particular computer, you can see it struggles because it just isn't, you know, the high performance computer. So if we're trying, if we've gotten to this point and I still have, you know, a whole bunch of things to do, what I would probably do is go over to here, to the top layer, and select out the layers that I want to include, these here, and do the everything command, Shift, Control, Alt, E, and now I have a single stamped layer. So if I show only that's the Alt click on that eyeball. Now I'm only looking at that one layer, right? All the other layers still exist, but there's one layer that has everything. If I get rid of that, if I get rid of the bottom layers, I just delete them, then they're gone. I can't go back and edit those. I can edit the Jpeg or the PDF the PSD that I save.
The command again is Shift, Control, Alt.
Control Shift Alt E, everything. Yeah. Yeah, literally everything. Well, almost literally everything. So if what you're trying to do here is to compress this in order to work on a smaller document that contains everything, do the everything command, and then right click on this, on that particular layer, right click on it, and create a duplicate layer. I'm sorry, no. What am I trying to do here? Oh, here's export as, and then you can put it in, you can save it as that particular layer only as a something. All right? I'm not going to do that.
All right, in your workload, because once I'm finished with something, I'm just flattening it out and get rid of it because I probably will never go back to that.
Right.
If I'm pretty sure I'm never going to go back to it, I get rid of it.
Right.
I mean, that's what I will do. What do you do?
Yeah, I keep everything. I keep everything. Yeah, because when I'm done with the image in Photoshop, I'm going to save it and it's going to show up back in Lightroom.
Right.
All right. So Lightroom then is where I then take. Is there anything else we want to do with this, Paul? Or is it?
No, we're good.
Okay.
Yes, in a sense. All right, let's take it to the next step.
Okay.
So I wanted to print that.
Print it.
It's not any sort of a relationship. The aspect ratio doesn't fit any.
Right. Now that's a good point. So you have a few options. One is start over, right, and crop it down to something that is in an aspect ratio that you want to print. The other is to do what artists do and do an art print. So you're going to print a matte, right?
Right.
So our canvases are not any preset size. They're whatever got stretched. So sometimes they're little teeny things, and sometimes they're room sized. And so a lot of photographers are going to do the same thing. So what I do, because I get into exactly the same bind, is that I go into Lightroom here. Let's just take this one here. First option is to crop it to one of these sizes that you want to print, right? So if it's 8.5 by 11, all right, it's kind of close. You see the.
Can you go back to his photograph and do this?
Sure. Let's pull that up. Yep. All right.
Almost square.
Let's see. All right. I'm going to save it as Angel
I like
Cross.
that square for particularly for metal prints, and you can also have them done on labs.
That was my point. You
Yeah.
really need to change it.
No, I mean I like that. Particularly for metal, I really like that dimension. Oh yes, the Costco does several square sizes.
What's that?
You're saying it's
Profiles and stuff.
I'm saving a PSD here just because. All right. Well, it's not fast. I'm saving the entire file, so it's going to take a few minutes. I'm saving the whole thing. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up in Lightroom, and I'm going to use the Lightroom print function. All right. And
That confuses the heck out of me.
really, okay, yeah, print. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to cover, because we do all this work on these things, and then what do we do with them, right? We look at them on our computer screen, and nobody else gets to see them, and really, carry your computer or your tablet around. But printing is a good thing to do. And I heard somebody talking about metal prints, stretched canvas prints. There's one that I saw that is really interesting now. It's metallic paper bonded to acrylic. So that's kind of neat. So you got this depth.
Yeah, that's supposed to be the one thing for some of the wedding photographers. Like
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah.
And I've seen that same thing with printed on glass, on the backside of glass. So there are all kinds of print options. And so how do you get there?
But you should definitely have a one-to-one print routine in Lightroom in a template.
Right,
You put it on 4 different size papers and it still looks good.
right, right.
Say that again, Joe.
I mean, you see how I do my photography. I
Yeah.
basically create a template with a signature. And my observation is this kind of work from everything I read, and I think it's my own personal thought, I agree, this is beyond photography. I would not call this a photograph.
Right.
This composite. Yeah. So you're sort of in the graphics art genre, and how you present it is completely arbitrary. But again, if you're going to do this on a regular basis, I hardly ever frame anything. You know, I would create a Lightroom template on 8.5 by 11 or on 13 by 19 with a 1-to-1 aspect ratio with a nice signature, and basically keep a record of these kind of composites. That's what I would recommend. And you can create your own templates in Lightroom and just like 50 of them.
You're talking about templates with a map printed on it?
A print template.
Right. Yeah, we'll look at that. So I'm just importing that image into Lightroom here. And then once we pick it, we'll go over to the print function over here. And exactly what Jeff's saying, there are a bunch of presets for printing. And
In Lightroom,
this is in Lightroom.
if you size a print, a photograph, you have to fit it into one of the preset aspects.
Oh, no.
Take it as is.
Well, I'll show you once we get this image in. But you can use any of the presets, and you can modify any of the presets, or you can start out and create your own. But let's just take this over to print. Right, so here are the Lightroom templates. So 4x6, and you see what's happening here. Okay. All right. First of all, go down here, and first thing you need to do is, what size paper are we going to use? So, because everything that you put on this depends on output, right? That's the point, is we're outputting. So we're going to go to the OfficeJet, and well, we'll just use this letter size just because that's what I got. So if we go down here, we've got one large with a stroke. They did have custom centered, fine art matte. Here we go, fine art matte. So
1-to-1. I recommend you print a 7x7 print on an 8.5 by 11 paper. It basically gives you a very nicely matted 1-to-1, and you have a place at the bottom to basically put your signature on.
right.
The date.
So yeah, this is a typical art map. You know, it's got a larger bottom than a top,
Right, and the floor.
and so there it is. I mean, that's
What are those lines on the top of the bottom?
okay. Let's just go through what all this stuff is.
Yeah, that's the full photograph, we haven't lost anything.
We have not lost anything. Okay, so here's how to control that. The image settings. So zoom to fill is not checked. If I hit zoom to fill, it's going to expand the picture in whichever direction is lacking, which in this case is top and bottom, and it's going to blur the rest of it out the sides, right? So here's what happens. Okay? So we lost the sides. Controllable. You can do that or not. Rotate to fit. Okay, it fits better this way because this is actually not a square image, right? If you want multiple sheets, you can repeat it. Do you want a border? And this is actually a printable border. So if you want a border, you can do that. You can change the color of it. Oh, I like that. Okay,
Can you extend
not.
the border out from the edge rather than in?
I don't believe there's a gap. I don't believe you.
But again, what you're looking at is what they call a cell. You determine the size of the cell. The frame, the frame is within the cell.
Okay.
And then here are the margins. So we've got a 0.69-inch margin on this side, left, right, top, and then you see the bottom is bigger, 2.64 inches. So if we want it even larger, we can scroll that up. And you see as I move it up, it automatically adjusts the size of the image in there. All right. And the grids, this is a 1 by 1, so it's one grid. If I wanted, for instance, 2 rows, if I go up to there, then I can put a second picture in here.
If I wanted to have someone else print it with that book, can I export that as a JPEG or no?
You can export this as a JPEG. It will look exactly like that
With the board? Yes.
with the border. Right.
But if we're just printing it out on home,
Export it to what?
Well, it's with JPEG, so we can get.
Yeah, let's just skip right down there because we're kind of running out of time. But there's a whole bunch of options in there. But here's what we're going to do. Print to. Right? So that right there, we're going to print to a printer or we're going to print to a JPEG file.
Oh, okay.
All right? So if you're printing it for someone, if you want a service to print it for you, you're going to print it as a JPEG.
So I can
Okay.
set it to, let's say, 8 by 12 rather than 8.5 by 11, which is a little print size.
Well, if we're printing to a JPEG, we want someone else to print it. You're not defining the print size here. You're going to tell them. Okay? So what you do here, the only control you have really is the resolution. So it defaults to 300 dpi, which is, right?
But up above, I could have chosen different papers, paper size or location or whatever.
Different location on this, yes.
So you chose an 8 by 11 type paper.
Right.
You can choose a different size at that point.
Right, but if you want somebody to print that for you, you just export the JPEG.
Right.
Not using the print routine, you
No, I
just
understand,
export.
but I may want that board printed as well, the whole white and all the rest.
Okay, so then you would create a JPEG of what you see.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And export it where?
On the desktop.
Well, right here, we'll go ahead and print it to file. It's going to ask for a file name. All right. And then it did that. And now if we go over to the file manager, should be there.
And the Pro Labs often have color profiles that you can now, in Costco, each outlet has their own color profiles you can, download and put in your computer. Gamut. So,
Right.
and they do pretty family stuff. I think it's great.
With my printer, if I printed a PSD.
So there's what we got. You can see this, the edge. So it's the whole thing.
So you're sending it to a person who's going to print it, you're sending it.
Yeah, you're going to go onto their website.
Take a chip there or a disk.
Now, go on the website, there's an upload function, they pick this file, upload it, and at that point you say, I want it on this size paper, I want this type, I want it glossy or whatever.
Does it need to be sRGB color space? I think it does.
Right in here, they will tell you,
So, I think generally that's what most printers use.
you definitely want JPEG quality.
What JPEG?
Here's sRGB.
File?
Pardon?
It's too big to.
Oh, okay, got it.
You can upload TIFFs to Costco up to 100 megabytes.
Wow.
I do that sometimes. What the heck?
And
How many
if I'm printing on my own
100
HP,
Mhm.
to Costco.
a PSC file or a chip prints far better than a JPEG. Just get better, it's just a better quality printing.
Yeah, I mean, if you have 100% JPEG, it should be pretty close in quality. But,
I noticed that on my printer.
on
But again, what about the color?
color management is, like I said, the question that I have a lot about down in the color management.
This one here, right.
Yeah, and the like perceptual or intent and all that junk.
I read about them. I don't really remember what their differences are.
All right, so you chose those two options right there, and you want to print to your printer.
Print to the printer.
Yeah, print to the printer.
All right, so I would go up here and change it from JPEG to printer.
Yep.
And now I've got a couple of different options because at this point I'm going to say what what kind of paper, okay? And that's for the sharpening. Print resolution is going to be defined by the printer, right? So each printer has its own preferred
Oh.
print resolution.
Oh, so you don't say Photoshop and it just colors, you say printer.
Even.
Well, if you have a color profile
Yeah.
set up for your printer and your monitor, you'll want to define it by the color profile. This, I don't have one set up here. That would be the other.
One thing I ran into was when I tried to print to a color printer, it actually said, what monitor do I have, so it was going to match the color profile with it.
Oh,
Right,
wow.
right. And that's the right way to do it, because, you know, colors, I mean, there's a whole science to color matching and profiling and all those kind of things. So that's,
So printer resolution will default to what your printer can do?
yeah, it'll default to whatever printer you have already selected over here in the page setup over there.
All right, and you don't need to set anything in that management place other than the name of the printer? Because it gets confusing because they ask it over
This here?
here and they ask it over there.
Right.
So which one takes the priority?
This one here takes priority. The last one over here takes the priority.
And you recommend sharpening for print, even if you sharpened in?
To tell you the truth, I don't print myself much for a presentation, so I don't know who's.
I print, and it's more complicated than that, but in essence, I think the starting point is, do you have a good printer? Is it calibrated? Do you have Icc Profiles?
Yeah.
If you do, then you want to take the printer, you know, completely out of the equation. Basically, you want to use your profile.
Right.
So when you set up page setup up front, printer setup, there should be a command there that basically tells it to disregard under advanced. At the top, there should, you disregard all commands. So the printer does nothing.
Where is that?
Yeah.
On each printer, dialog box, it's in a different place. Because the dialog box is unique to that printer.
Yeah.
So you're letting Lightroom control.
Yes. Yes.
So here's your.
Your last stroke at the end is to invoke the paper profile, which is calibrated to your printer.
Right.
Let me go back and ask a question. When you take a photograph, you take an Adobe color spaces, Adobe RGB 1998.
Right.
You work on it in Photoshop. You can specify bringing it in as ProPhoto, bringing it as sRGB, bringing it as Adobe RGB. Printer, it's got to be printer and the computer, it's got to be in the same color space.
Yeah.
I spent years not knowing that.
Yeah.
In Lightroom, you do the same thing?
Yes, in Lightroom, you set your sRGB or
Or ProPhoto or Adobe RGB 1998.
Yeah. The problem is that most printers have not migrated to ProPhoto. ProPhoto color space is much wider.
The